The Penre Papers. A Journey Through the Multiverse. The First Level of Learning. http://wespenre.com. Present and Future Challenges, PFC, Section. PFC Paper Number 2, The Remarkable Michael Lee Hill Case. By Penre, Friday, May 6, 2011. 4. Bill Burns of UFO Magazine and UFO Hunters, How Much Does This Man Really Know? Michael in contact with secret military-industrial complex. Michael was pretty stunned when he noticed that something Bill Burns said to him actually became true. Was it intuition on Bill's part? Did he know something Michael didn't, or were they just conclusions from his years of experience in the UFO field? I don't know, but if I had to choose one, I'd choose the latter. This is what happened. Bill Burns predicted during the interview for History Channel UFO Hunter episode Alien Contact that we are being prepared by a behind-the-scenes secret military-industrial complex group and given a course of study to help us prepare to meet the actual ETS. To Michael, that has actually happened, he says. Michael will now share some personal correspondence between this group that was spoken of during UFO Hunters, and himself. I will present it in Michael's own words, due to that his story was given to me via email, where we all sometimes don't bother with spell and grammar check. I have adjusted this on some occasions in Michael's correspondence for the reader's convenience. Everything else is exactly as I received it from Michael. Any words added by me are within brackets. A. I was featured on UFO Hunters show episode because I am a level 5 contactee. They flew me to Boston to have my medical and blood tests done by a Harvard professor. The results of my blood test was that I have an unknown blood condition/bloodline that is not normal human blood. I had no clue what any of this bloodline stuff was about at this point. I was featured on the History Channel's UFO Hunters, hosted by Bill Burns, publisher of UFO Magazine. On the episode, the UFO Hunters decide to test my blood and the blood of another apparent contactee. We both had a unknown very rare blood anomaly/bloodline. A Harvard doctor uncovered non-normal human level elevated levels of creatine kinase, which is a very rare occurrence in just one person, let alone two. This anomaly releases massive amount of CK into blood which in turn superoxygenates the bloodstream. You will see below what the end result is on the human body. B. A group of military-industrial complex insiders began giving me a course of study on the subject of higher physics, and a true picture of the bigger reality in which humanity finds itself in at the moment. Here is an example of an insider's information given to me regarding this blood anomaly/bloodline which the History Channel revealed. And the whole part about not having a choice just verifies the importance of your bloodline. I'm sure you've seen the movie Dune? Probably as many times as me? You know how important bloodlines were to them? You do realize that this blood anomaly is something like MITI chlorines from Star Wars? Oxygen carrying capacity in blood equals percentage potential of nervous system usage and your body's overall potential electrical capacitance ability. Whether you use the force or not, the potential is there. The Scientologists can test for this with that machine of theirs they use for auditing. A question that triggers a deep emotional response would show a much stronger reading with you than most anyone else. See, I then had my life infiltrated with Black Ops agents, 3 that I know of. One of those 3 came into my life as a new girlfriend who a few months into the relationship took a blood sample from me during a very private moment. When I confronted her, she confessed up and told me everything. Her first words were your hard-earned tax dollars are being put to good use, and that the group she worked for confirmed what they were looking for in my blood, the human/Anunnaki hybrid bloodline, emphasis not an original. Below is an email from this secret group of insiders I mentioned. They began to ask me point-blank questions such as the following. These are actual cut and pastes from talks I have had with them. It is not a complete surprise to any of us that you were a target of trickery, deceit, malfeasance, misuse, abuse, misinformation, and disinformation. To top it all off, you've chosen a most public life that looks like it's reflected back to you all of the fears embedded in the human soul from long ago. But, in between all of the horsebucky, you have been fed some manna. But you'll have to figure out which is which, having chosen the road you are taking. As to your blood anomaly, don't feel lonesome. There are others like you, people that don't get sick very easily, who have factors and strange enzymes that look like nanoscience out of some pulp sci-fi novel. And who live very, very long lives, and can appear and disappear at will. No big deal. What is a big deal is what you do with the hand that has been dealt to you. It is obvious you have gone on a testing spree of latent faculties and were mucked with to see what you'd do and how you'd react. If someone wanted you dead, you'd be long gone. But that is not what this is about. What this is about, for you and for all of the observers interested in your trek, is what's between your ears and in that nervous system of yours fed by the blood others want. And what you are lacking is systematically useful information, about it, about yourself, about your descent, about your own biology, about the faculties you have experienced which have led you to fear and then to new realizations. Living a public life without boundaries and self-imposed limits is like being a candy store yourself and everyone wanting to have a lick at you for the taste, as this woman appeared to be the case, until she essentially cut a piece of your dick for the blood of it, for the experience and for the perceived value of the brand of candy you are. The world knows now you have something in your blood that makes you different, even without you seriously knowing what it is. Or do you? Do you know what it is that is so sought after as confirmation of descent? If not, why not? If yes, what are you going to do about it, the information? And when are you going to stop the world and get off it, like you would a bus, for a while, to take stock of the experiences and of the questions before you? Michael continues by telling me he wants to share another letter he received from this same military-industrial complex group insider, Michael's terms. He can't reveal the name of this group, he says, but the letter is filled with knowledge that not too many people on this planet are privy to. A letter to Michael. Thursday, July 10, 2008. Dear Michael, thank you for your email today. I just received a copy of what you sent, and decided to reply with a letter directly to you. From where I'm sitting, I hear two Michaels speak out: the musical Michael, which is a musically inclined persona that's gone through a musical evolution, and the private Michael, which is the one that's gone through an awakening. Inside, both seem so closely tied that it may or may not be noticeable to you. In here, I'm going to answer to both, and hope that the real Michael, who is the blend of both worlds, understands the words I use in replying to your long note to us, and to me. You know, these two Michaels have a distinct role to play in this whole crazy thing we are all participating in. I've wondered, and had asked XXXXX more than once, just why is it that you came to us? He pointed out your reply to him when one of us asked whether or not you were sure about doing a concentration with us. XXXXX and I will be your guides, once you get underway. What I am still trying to grasp is who the group is that is in touch with you, and why did they give you approval to work with us? There are several possibilities as possible answers to those questions. But we'll save them for much later, at a time when the three of us are together somewhere, somewhen. I say these, as a kind of preface to you, because I am a wide-eyed, curious, born in Missouri show me kind of guy. But I also have enough nocive experiences to know how it all works, why, and what the rules are. Nocive is a word you're going to hear and read often from now on, so you might as well get introduced to what it means. Nocive is a mode of getting information that uses every pore and cell of your body as one huge antenna that sets up interference with fields and more fields, not just in our space/time but also in other space/time ratios. In saying all of this, please also be prepared to ditch and completely discard anything you might have learned about how the human body-mind really works, and expect to have your notions of reality, materiality, spirit, God, and what is be severely challenged. Many rebel, but I don't think you will. Something tells me you won't. Nocive is our lifeline to anything and everything and everyone else, not just Earth human, but also to other forms of life in the universe. Know-how, knowings, and knowledge we have plenty to offer you. What you do with it is what I stand ready to be surprised and glad and awed. I now know that all of us Earth humans are intricately woven into a connective tissue like weave, much more than a network, and much more like a kind of overfunction, spokes to a grand wheel at the center of which is nothing and everything, because all of us together are it. This may sound like just another construction to support the Christian view of a Christ, but it is not. Come to find out, every living form in our known universe, and from other space/time ratios, are organized like that. We've known this for over 20 years now, and keep learning how it all works, and why. Then there are those who are not from here, some of whom are already on planet's surface, some already living around where you live and elsewhere in the upper Midwest. They look like you and me, but you can tell they are not from here. The life forms with whom you are connected to and communicate with may well have representative or crew members already on the surface, in Ohio and other nearby states. This would not surprise me in the least. In fact, by what you described in your email, I would expect it. Let me then give you a capsule view of what we are about, what kind of science we practice, what I believe is the set of reasons they sent you here to us, and what my vision is of why you are here. About us. We are a germ that was planted in the soil of some minds back in the early 80s and germinated in some of us in the later years of that decade. The idea did not come from any of us, but rather from one of them. From those small beginnings, we are now still a small group, 50 plus, but we are independent of any organized worldview and control, and we are organized as a cooperative that operates by consensus of all its members. It is a handful to operate, but it keeps us out of the penetration and control of outside forces, if you know what I mean. The principle is simple: some can be fooled all of the time, all can be fooled part of the time, but not all can be fooled all of the time. In the latter years of the decade of the 90s, we had prima donnas and egomaniacs who wanted to be the stars, and it almost tore the whole group apart. But, fortunately, everyone saw things for what they were and decided as a group that we did not want that. We wanted all involved and participating according to individual plans and wishes. Our mission statement is simple: we are here to study what can be said about what nature is and how she works. The story is continuing to evolve, the whole thing is a work in progress. But we are of one mind about the mission. And we accept help from wherever and whenever it comes, provided the interests and purposes of those sources of help are similar, consonant, to what we see to be the interests of the human race, and not just the controlling forces that now direct and control all significant aspects of our evolution, science, technology, etc. We have decided to be wide-eyed about things, especially about those who are not from here. We chose not to label them as aliens, euphonauts, and some of the other words often used to name them. We simply deal with what it, and what is, with the exception of one group, is that they are not from here. Our science. One of the things we discovered without intending to is that the universe and all other aspects of it is actually idiomaterial. Idiomaterial means that it is matter and thought and we can't tell it apart. Life physics, which is what came out of this effort, literally leads us to seek explanations on causation, not just the unification of all forces of nature, as material or standard physics does. We use a means and method of going out of the body that is technologically supported and allows a person to do that on demand. We called it extension neurosensing, or ENS for short. The theory and technology was developed by some of us. This technology showed us that the world, universe, life, not only biological life but all other forms of life, even non-biological ones, God, or what we discovered lays behind the source of all energetics in what we came to call the unum, everything that emanates and finds source at a T or thought boundary. This is not just a mathematical construction, but a place one can see, some can even visit and survive it as form. And yes, it is a source of infinite love. We have learned much from it and about how nature is and works in the last 20 or so years. We have also learned a lot about ourselves as individuals and as a species or biological kind, or simply biokind. As you get started, you are going to be literally bombarded with a whole lot to read and absorb. This will go on for the better part of a year or so. You will be expected to write essays to explain what and how you are piecing together the new picture you develop of how things really work. The focus during this first year will be on how nature works and how we human beings can master the use of what nature offers us, and all those who are like us who already know much better and much more than us at present. We will encourage you to write well and often, and hope that some of the things you come up with are publishable. Most of the other research fellows are doing just that now, some of whom have already published for all members of the XXXX group to read and comment on. You will then have the chance and opportunity to interact with them by phone and by messenger on what they said about what you wrote, and defend, modify, and update your point of view. Most everything you read will go a long way toward helping you unlearn what you learned before and what you think you know about the subject. I'm here to tell you that not all is the way it's cracked out to be. Fox Mulder, the famous FBI agent in the X-Files, had a saying on his office wall that said, "The truth is out there." Under the photo of a UFO. Well, we politely disagree and state categorically that the truth is everywhere. And here you are going to learn to tap into the truth that is due you by the effort and time you put in seeking it. One thing that you'll discover as you move into this new realm of knowledge is that as you learn and evolve, you'll reach new levels of knowing and know-how, and that this comes with new responsibilities and patterns of thinking and behavior. The whole thing is really a kind of personal bootstrapping by the sweat of your brow and the mind that is married to your body. We say superposed to your body, because they both coexist in the same space/time. And you'll get to learn and use new languaging systems that involve much more than just words. An example of this you are already experiencing with your extraterrestrial contacts. You have a languaging system that allows you both to communicate with each other, both ways. Eventually, you'll also experience things in the unum itself, a realm of space/time ratios in which some of the spatial dimensions are enfolded and create initial problems to a neurosensor just beginning because it creates perceptual effects that are weird to the uninitiated and inexperienced. But that's all right, with time, wisdom comes, and from wisdom new and far more expanded understanding. In the same vein, you'll also inevitably going to move to, and ultimately grasp and understand the need of something called topological thinking, which to most of us represents the next stage in mental development for the human race on Earth. And you'll learn how to develop this in yourself, because you'll need to in order to progress along a path you'll also realize is there and open to you. Ultimately, you'll come to see that everything, literally, is physics, but not a physics that is exclusively material or exclusively noetic, thought, but both, in other words, idiomaterial. This is far beyond even sub-quantum physics. You'll come to see and realize that every cell, indeed, every elementary particle that makes your body particulate, is a black hole and a white hole at the same time, and that this merges everything you are made of with a vacuum, actually a plenum, that is full of energy that constitutes a literal ocean of it. The entire universe, which is but one of 7 superdomains, is nothing but particles that emerge from and go back to this plenum in a kind of continuous, never-ending Texas two-step dance. And you'll also discover that there are millions of possible infinities which are intimately and forever connected to what to us is infinitesimal, smaller than the smallest piece of matter. So you'll get to touch both infinity and the Planck limit, the boundary of the infinitesimal, during your journey with us. And you'll realize that the human mind is far more powerful than humankind today even fathoms. Why you were led to us. This is an interesting exercise for us, because we distinctly get it that it has to do with what your friends who are not from here want you to learn and evolve into. You see, right now, they see and sense your good heart and open, connected intention in life-giving ways. You also have music in you, but not in the sense of just playing the guitar or composing songs. You see, to create matter, you need music, or more specifically, sounds. Not just any one sound, but specific sound frequencies in combination. You'll also learn about this in the course of your concentration. And you'll learn how to use them to light and code objects out of thin air. Yes, what we spoke about before, as you said in your biography, synchronicity. And the synchronicities do not end there. With you comes to all of us new roads, avenues, and doors that you already opened for yourself. You've already crossed these doors. When these new doors you've already crossed become aware of your bootstrapping new self, new interest will arise in what you as part of all of us bring to the world. In that sense, the mission you set for yourself comes to pass, and with you as part of a far larger thing. This also translates into the entertainment as education aspect of this whole thing we are doing means. An act you learn to do and produce will speak a billion words. This will definitely get attention, and it is incontrovertible, you cannot argue with it. And the kind of music you may come to know and write and produce will be nothing like what exists today, because you will most likely learn to use the true Pythagorean scale, from which creation itself comes. Think also of the value of getting to know your flying friends by pressing the flesh, as it were. Don't discount it. Maybe being here is what they hope you will use in getting to that point with them. There is a far larger issue, many new problems and immense opportunity all blended into one phenomenon in that. But this is one phenomenon we will have to participate in very carefully and very intelligently. We are not without contacts in this respect. And much more needs to yet be done in this area. So welcome to the stage, brother. Life will never again be the same for you. Only you can determine and decide if what you've chosen was the right thing for you. I suspect strongly it is, but that is not for me to declare with strong emphasis. Funny, though, the stage onto which you've jumped in your vision or dream is not the only one where there is a small audience. This one too has an audience of a handful now. But, as the message to me was, build it and they will come, said, they will and they are coming. As all the other research fellows are finding out now, you too will realize that you'll learn by teaching others what you develop, evolve into, and become. Finally, and extremely telling by how you sign off, peace is the basis, the platform, from and through which most of what you'll learn to become comes through. Without peace, you are quite right to say that fear reigns in the human heart and mind. And that we cannot allow to happen. Our own survival and thrive as a biokind rides on it. At peace. XXXXXXXXXXPH.D. Managing Scientist. Michael says, I have been given a course of study from this secret group just as Bill Burns predicted on the History Channel show. As I stated, I have met many ETs now. The main group I have been personally contacted by in all of this is the Anunnaki, both the ones who have been here all along but hidden behind the scenes and the incoming Anunnaki as well. The Anunnaki are returning, and I believe that is why the masses are being prepared with shows such as the History Channel's Ancient Aliens show, in particular the Mission episode which dealt almost exclusively with the Anunnaki. Last but not least, I would like to share a communication I received from a military-industrial complex insider as an example of what these insiders are telling me about what they know regarding me and my contact with these orbs of light. Michael's comments are within parenthesis, Wes's note. I'm termed a subcontractor, W.S.F.M. These folks make pilotless drones for firefighting with NASA. http://ntrs.nasa.gov/archive/nasa/kc.ntrs.nasa.gov/2008008870_. 200800885009.pdf. More of Boyd Bushman's revelations are being run through several labs/tests as we speak. Michael, you will be kept up to speed. This individual is speaking about senior scientist for Lockheed Martin Boyd Bushman's testimony from David Saraida's and my film From Here to Andromeda, http://www.fromheretoandromeda.com/bio_Boyd-Bushman.html right parenthesis. You will have no doubts by now, Michael, that the intelligences associated with the orbs selected you, just as you have since become aware that the intelligence agencies know this also but are at a loss what to do about it. All are awaiting the orbs associated intelligence's moves unfold via interaction with you. Part of the reason of your selection was your frame of mind. You exhibited/transmitted neither fear nor anger, painful to these orb intelligences and much magnified, to what may be imagined. Your enthusiasm to transmit your encounters is also factor. It is no coincidence that you are witnessing and recording the complete range of UK Ministry of Defence phenomena. There is motive and close/direct and mental encounters which I believe will be revealed soon. W.S.F.M. Subcontractor. Michael goes on, Then through another communication it was stated how the powers that be had tried to silence the Lake Erie UFO story and discredit me in the process. This was my exact reply. They sure did try to shut down this Lake Erie UFO story, but the fact is the actual UFO activity over Lake Erie is growing and hundreds of people are seeing and filming it. All the major media has covered the story and they have here filming these objects as well. Early May you will see this story all over the news. So yes, they did try and discredit me a few years ago, but we are well beyond that now and you can't keep a good man down. I have never given up trying to help humanity no matter what they said because I knew the truth. I will be vindicated now because this story is going worldwide, it is disclosure. And here is his actual response to Michael's reply. And out of those hundreds we have you the one chosen by Enki to be his messenger. Wait, you're the mate Raya. And you need vindication because you don't care what anyone thinks about you. Peace. XXXX. Furthermore, Michael tells me that it has been confirmed that Marduk is a flesh and blood Anunnaki, who sits on top of the planetary Masonic Zion apparatus. Here are his own words again. So the plan that's made mention in the Illuminati Zion protocols and carried out by Baal-worshipping Illuminates is traced back to the Anunnaki. Supposedly there has been a split in the ranks of the Anunnaki and Marduk is the usurper to the throne. Mars seemingly plays a role in this. There is information leaking out now about a base in Mars, connected to Earth by a Stargate accessible from Pine Gap. And other bases. But this may suggest that the connection to Mars and Earth share different timelines. I.e., if you Stargate to Mars you may be there now but in the Earth's past. From my current purview, this Earth is a dimension in 3D density where archetypes of good/evil are allowed for choice to be made for sovereign individuals. Marduk represents a negative polarity and the Marduk Ra Mars energy has suppressed the feminine Gaia Venus principle on the planet to hasten technological evolution on this planet. DRXXXXXXXX. Action_ACIO-**. Psalm 33 Degree of Zion. Pine Gap. Nth Australia. I know this insider well from my experiences, but not as a friend. I have had a few quite unpleasant encounters with him, and he will be further exposed in my following paper. Michael crossed out this person's name, but I will expose him, and thus take responsibility for its accuracy. This insider goes under a pseudonym, Dr. Roy Gordon, and is working for the NSA/ACIO. This name may sound familiar to the reader, and if not, see PFC paper number 1, The Marduk Issue and the Earthbound Anunnaki, Section 8. He was the one who infiltrated LPGC. 5. Some additional information from Michael on the Anunnaki topic. For those who are familiar with the Wingmakers and have read Project Camelot's interview with James in 2008, may find some similarities with the following letter, which Michael received, but he wants to keep the sender anonymous. If the reader is not yet familiar with the Wingmakers material, I strongly recommend that you read up on it, especially the Neruda interviews and the Project Camelot interview, because the Wingmakers have a lot of significance to what is happening in the world today, and what will happen in the near future. Here is the letter that was sent to Michael, quoted in full. I have not bothered with correcting spelling and grammar errors. The letter in itself has no real significance, because I don't know who wrote it, but I include it here for future discussions, as this matter is quite controversial. I have from one of my sources, that Wingmakers material that is more recent than the Neruda interviews is a mix of truth and half-truths, and that the website, have been taken over by someone else, and that the original, genuine James is no longer in charge of the information being published. However, that is for later. 5.1 The Wingmakers/Anunnaki letter. They, Anunnaki, don't deactivate nukes, that would be the friends of the Wingmakers. The Atlanteans who avoided being enslaved by the Anunnaki by moving into another dimension of Earth where the Anunnaki can't go, so they sealed the grids between the dimensions. Just recently these Atlanteans breached the grid between the dimensions, and even though they have been sending messages to their fellow citizens, for 11,000 years now, they were mostly distorted by the HMS programming. Humans were too preoccupied with survival, until now. This era is the first time humans have had a moment to think outside the box, because the Anunnaki incarnated, left running the programs of the Anunnaki. The bloodline is of the self-created gods, but now the Atlanteans are incarnating too. The indiscretion of these human Anunnaki is infamous, so some of us may in fact have some of their DNA in us. The Anunnaki are the rulers of this universe. They are not fallen angels, they are another species completely different than angels. Obviously, we have the same creator, and the same free will. They choose to take advantage of their technology to enslave entire planets, and ours was just one of them, but we shall prevail, because we have discovered how to turn the HMS off. To turn off the HMS, one must simply say no more, will participate in the deception of dualities, and follow through with that. No more. No more will I be part of this deception. No more will I contribute my energy to the works of deception. No more will I stand idle while others suffer. No more will I shake in my self-doubt and allow those in power to decide my fate. No longer will I be sucked into the distractions of the elite. No longer will I reserve my activism for a future time, the time is now. If you do this not only in words but deeds, you will see a space open up in your life, a sort of emptiness and stillness that lacks human embroidery or definition. This is the place in which you can stand up and radiate the oneness, equality, and truthfulness of the sovereign integral. This is the activism that will change the world. It will not be the organizations, the sects, or the militias that bring change. They cannot stand up to the elite. Only the self, the sovereign integral, operating in harmony with Earth/nature can stand up to the elite and usher in the era of transparency and expansion. Do you know of the forming of the council of these incarnating ancients/Atlanteans? And its function? I know their origins, and their purpose. It is the same as ours, to enhance and expand our own consciousness via experience in matter, energy, space, and time, and to self-create and express our unique identity as sovereign integrals from the central race. Our DNA is the same as the Anunnaki. They have deceived themselves, in their visions of self-created grandeur, and are suffering the consequences of their attempts to keep the other species of this universe in a prison, which I am sure was an exhaustive task. Our template has the advantage of being created last, using the best of the features of all previous 6 species, the 7 root races. See Helena Blavatsky's and Alice Bailey's work. Wes comment. The Anunnaki's part in the plan was no mistake. We needed this experience so that we might appreciate being who we are, which is a species with all the abilities of the creators, and each with the potential to be individual representatives of First Source's divine love. SCCUs, sovereign entities of the central race, is who we are. As first beings of light we were identical, in all but one aspect, and that was that our consciousness was individuated, so that we would reach out to each other, and discover what makes us unique, which is the highest attribute of creation, and demonstrates its presence and trust in us. We are explorers, first and foremost, and creators second. We were multidimensional being and created a world, this world, so that we could experience separation. We fragmented our soul consciousness, our true identity, from our body's consciousness, by creating a mind that was totally unaware of our connection to the central race, so that we could experience the genuine and authentic emotions of an independent individual uniquely. Using free will, we each chose what we needed to develop our own unique personality, our own identity. Over 10,000 lifetimes, we experienced all that is, and now, as you say, school is over. And now is our opportunity to demonstrate our skills as masters. We have a little time yet to practice, before the galactic alignment activates the last of our DNA that has been preserved for this time. Wes emphasis. Those who are prepared for when the full activation of the source codes are shifted on, will find themselves fully conscious of all the realities they have ever experienced, enhanced and expanded via self-creation and awareness of all our individual and collective abilities. Creation is the manifestation of matter energized. It requires light and sound. The light is what activates us, our life force, and the sound is the tone of our words, the expression of our thoughts. Collectively we are a force that manifests even the wildest dreams. Once the media gets our focused attention collectively, and manipulates the energy we give to any one expressed thought, it will manifest, even our darkest fears. Being aware of our creative abilities is what the PTB, powers that be, Wes comment have over us. These laws of creation hold true no matter if you are conscious of them or not. We, as a collective, created this world, and we have the ability to choose where we direct our energy and the ability to choose what we are creating. No one can prevent us from doing that. True sovereigns cannot be told what they can and can't do. They are self-aware of their unique abilities and value as a member of this species. Sovereigns share one common goal, global equality, which is perceived universally as wholeness. I like your Wingmaker's painting. I have a unique version of it framed and in my line of sight, given to me by its creator. I assume that you are aware that it is a self-portrait of a very real person. We share a common interest in the work of the LTO Lyricus teaching order, Wes comment. 6. The Eric Clapton connection. I mentioned earlier that Michael Lee Hill is a gifted musician. However, there is more to it than that. He claims that he is Eric Clapton's son. Before you hit the exit button on your browser, listen to this. Michael himself had no idea about the above until just recently. Let's start on this end. Michael got a letter from Bill Burns, UFO Hunters. From William J. Burns to Michael Hill. Hi, Michael. Hope you are well. I am writing the manuscript for the UFO Hunters Season 1 book now and am up to your chapter on alien contact. I was hoping I could either get on the phone with you or through email, update your information, especially as it regards your biological parents. I think it would be a real blockbuster to have an interview with you about what you learned after the episode when you spoke to your biological mom. What do you think? Best. Bill Burns. What Bill was about to announce to the world in his new book is what came out of the blood tests, when the History Channel found out about Michael's blood anomaly from the Harvard professor. They found out he was adopted, and asked Michael if he could track down his biological parents to see if the blood issue was a family genetic trait. For the first time in his life, Michael got in touch with his biological mother, and also got to meet his two half-sisters. He says it was great to meet them all, and that he should have done it sooner, but time was apparently not right until recently. The shocker came when Michael asked his mother who his biological father is, and she told him, Eric Clapton. And she had plenty of fact and information to back up that claim. Michael tells me, I don't know if I will ever get to meet Eric. I have just about as much of a clue how to contact him as any of you do. I love my father and mother who raised me so much. It's not much of an issue, but I sure would love to get to meet him and jam with him. Smiley face. I was born March 11, 1968, so I would have been conceived around June of 1967, which would make Eric around 22 then. She told me she was very upset because Eric had brought his new girlfriend to the hospital when I was born. She told me that this girl's father held a lot of power in the music industry due to my own research. I believe that girl was Alice Ormsby Gore, who was the youngest daughter of William David Formby Gore, 5th Baron Harlech, a lord in England. You see, William David Ormsby Gore has serious ties into the entertainment, Illuminati, business, and these people had already planned on Eric going solo out of Cream and hooking up with Alice and me, and my mother were not part of that plan. It is known that Eric started dating Alice Ormsby Gore in 1968. My mother did tell me Eric has a blood anomaly as well. Eric had told her he was a blue blood boy or something to that effect. My biological mother and two half-sisters have had no ET contact or UFO sightings that they recall. In early 2008, I interviewed a woman named Deborah Hunter Pitts, who claims to have been the lover of Eric Clapton and Carlos Santana. She also claims to have two sets of twins with both. You can find the interview here. http://www.illuminati-news.com/articles/75.html. Normally, when I write something, it starts a debate, so also in this case. Some people emailed me and said that it sounded plausible, while others discarded Ms. Hunter-Pitts as a fraud. I got to feel her out, and I know she is not a fraud. She herself truly believes in her story, from the beginning to the end. Michael himself mentions this article to me, because he stumbled upon it, most likely when he was looking for information on his dad. He says it's a very interesting connection, and that he knows Eric was involved in some anti-government work behind the scenes. 7. Michael's meeting with a known musician, claiming to be of high order and in connection with the Arcturians. It's obvious to me that Michael is here on Earth in this incarnation for a specific purpose, out of the ordinary. He has a blood anomaly, which attracts certain ET races, both those whose imperatives are clashing with our best interests, and those who may be here to support us. Michael has another ET experience, which happened after his encounter with Marduk at the Sirius Rising Festival. Michael is telling me he has met a cosmic being, who is of the ancients. This person also told him he had had an encounter with the Arcturians. Face to face. According to Edgar Cayce, the well-known sleeping prophet, the Arcturians are the most evolved beings in the universe at this moment. If this is true or not is up for debate, but they are certainly a very positive, evolved race. This person that Michael met also knew about the blood anomaly, without having seen the UFO Hunter show. Again, to protect his sources, Michael does not want to reveal who this person is in public, but he revealed it to me. Michael's source is indeed a known musician. I have proof that Michael knows him well by now, and when you see this man on stage and in interviews, you see a very evolved being with one of the most positive energies I've ever felt. This is one of the reasons I am publishing this part of Michael's story. When you watch and listen to him, he immediately raises your vibrations. When Michael has asked him who he is, this man says, "I'm of the highest of the Most High." He says further that the ancients were a very evolved race who were tricked into the human life/condition, and around 5,000 years ago their physical human incarnations were slaughtered somehow. Michael continues. These ancients decided to ascend into higher realms and at the right time, at the end of this current cycle, now, 2012, they would reincarnate under the radar, so to speak, into this timeline as humans to awaken and bring great change and heaven on earth. This spiritual master told me that there is a bloodline connected to these ancients in human form, a royal bloodline. Michael has spent quite some time with this other musician, and out of the blue, as the two were walking the streets of Pittsburgh, he suddenly said to Michael, "Michael, you have the bloodline." Michael was caught off guard, but told his friend that indeed he had a blood anomaly, but he doesn't know what it really means. His friend replied, "It's royal blood." Michael said he doesn't know what this means either in relation to himself, but his friend just said, "I know, but you will." And again, apparently, this man had not seen the UFO Hunter show. So Michael asked him how he would know, then? His friend told him, "Michael, I can tell the minute I meet someone if they have the bloodline. That's why I am incarnated right now, to meet and greet the ancients as they awaken." He went on to say, "Michael, the last time we met was 5,000 years ago, and before that was 9,000 years ago, you have the bloodline, you are one of the ancients." Furthermore, he went on to tell Michael that long ago, before the last pole shift, many ancients were tricked into human incarnations, not being told how dark this realm had become, and they were slaughtered. These beings ascended into the higher realms and waited for the right time to begin incarnating back into this timeline again, at the end of this current cycle to help humanity through these difficult changes. Michael then sent me a quote of something he found, which does not originate from his friend, but is related, and he was wondering if I could post it as a side note. Here goes. There was a meeting of galactic leaders as to why the Earth should be helped or not. There were a lot of quick judgments as to leaving the Earth and its inhabitants to their fates of doom and destruction. But there were also those who wanted to help, and they couldn't just come here to do it themselves the way they were because it would violate free will, so there was a test given even to the ETS. To be born here on Earth as humans, to be in their shoes so to speak, and if they gave in and were corrupted, the earth shall be left to its destruction. If they could keep the light and awaken within this nightmare as humans, they can change things and bring about the golden age, so no free will would be breached because it would all be done from within enemy territory, from behind enemy lines. This planet is not to fail, for it would affect all else because everything is connected. To round off, I want to quote Michael directly once again, regarding more information coming from his friend, so the reader gets it directly from the source. Michael's friend said he is responsible for the assembly of a council of people/beings who have this royal bloodline, and there is 150 seats to this council. He told me I was number 63 out of the 150, and I was introduced to number 65 and was told who number 64 is. I can't reveal their identities at this time for obvious reasons. He told me more of why these beings were slaughtered in the past. These beings came from higher realms and were somewhat tricked into human incarnation, not realizing how dark this realm had become. These beings were prophets and seers to the pharaohs of Egypt, and these beings held the keys and knowledge to multidimensional travel, and the pharaohs wanted this knowledge above all else. When the ancients refused the pharaohs this knowledge because they knew the knowledge would be misused, an order was given to slaughter the ancients. This being told me he's waiting for the scientists of this council of 150 to awaken. I asked him, so what happens when you find all 150? He responded, we're going to have a meeting. He went on to tell me he didn't know how many people of the bloodline were incarnated, could be thousands, but this council he is forming is first come or awaken first serve. 8. Afterthoughts and conclusions. Although this story may sound incredible to the reader, Michael's UFO case got quite some publicity, and no one can really explain what Michael saw over Lake Erie. As I said earlier, Michael is a musician, who needs to think of his career, but still comes out in the open with this information. I have talked to him quite extensively, and the way he comes across, there is virtually no way I think he is a hoax, or is at all lying. He appears to be a very honest and pleasant man, and his energies are very comfortable and nice. If anything needs to be added to that, I would say he is very curious by nature, and perhaps gets more involved with certain beings than is good for him, but who am I to judge? His story is very coherent, though, and ties into much of my research. Many people, at least in the UFO field, can probably accept Michael's videos as being genuine, but what about the encounters with the Anunnaki leadership? We have previously discussed in other papers that the Anunnaki are not genuinely humanoid, some of them are reptilian and reptilian hybrids, and I believe we can establish as a fact that they are also working in unison with factions of reptilians and Dracos, perhaps even the Greys. I am personally inclined to believe the Grey connection is true, but need more proof. Dr. Borden, according to himself, asked an Anunnaki in one of the link meetings if they were working with the Greys, and the answer was a definite no. Evidence point in the opposite direction. This person, whom Michael met on the bed at the festival, shape-shifted from a gargoyle type of being to a humanoid, who could not be distinguished from any other human in a crowd. The Anunnaki are not third-density beings, they are interdimensional and capable of bending and manipulating light, something life physics terms LERM, light encoding of a reality matrix, so that things we see can have a different shape and form if we look at them from a different light perspective. Some alien life forms are extremely savvy at this. Lastly, I want to make a comment about something which concerns me, though. Michael seems to, out of curiosity maybe, connect with beings who have different, even clashing imperatives. My concern is his connection with SAALM, Dr. Roy W. Gordon, and the people at Pine Gap. If what the A.A.M.I. from the home planet Nibiru are saying about being connected with Marduk in any shape and form is true, Michael is in great danger, and so is his family and descendants, unless he is highly protected by positive forces. Michael says that he thinks Marduk is a very nice person, who is here to play the role of the bad guy as a catalyst for us, to help us wake up spiritually, that it is a sacrifice on his part. Even though this, on some level, is true, it doesn't mean that we who are aware of this should hook up with the catalyst. Our task, as I see it, is to acknowledge that a certain person is a catalyst and move on towards a higher level of consciousness. Still, I have noticed that Michael is very determined and has made his choices. It is not for me to decide what is right and wrong, because there simply are no such things in a free will universe. All is experience and we are here to learn what we are setting ourselves out to learn, dealing with the karma we are creating, and have created in the distant past, and then move on. And whatever choices we make, it's quite a ride.